Welcome to Broncos Country Tonight. Big show for you this evening. We're going to have KJ Hamler joining us, Steve Atwater as well. But, Ben, we're going to start by how to beat the Bucs. We'll ask those guys about that. I'm going to ask you, how do you beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? A team, by the way, that you were not that high on coming into the preseason. They are 1-1, okay? But it's been a little bit of a mixed bag, especially in the turnover department. They're still figuring out who's going to be the starting running back. They've had injuries. Chris Godwin, of course, now coming back from concussion protocol. So, starting there, what do you think about what the Buccaneers have done through the first 2 weeks?
Well, I'm not sure if I can give you as detailed an answer as Steve Atwater would, but I can say that when you look at the Bucs, you hit the nail on the head. There have been injuries. It's been off on different pages. They started off in game one trying to kind of run more of what Bruce Arians traditionally runs, go a little more vertical. That second game where they got the win, they scaled it back. They went to more to what Brady does, get rid of it quickly, and a shorter developing concepts, which is more in his wheelhouse. I think if they continue to do that, they'll be more successful, but there had to be some give there. You couldn't run what Arians runs and what Tom Brady has traditionally run because they're diametrically opposite offenses in terms of the passing scheme. You look at some of the additions they made. Fournette hasn't made any impact at all, and they're still trying to figure the run game out. Gronkowski has looked washed. And really, it's been about the receivers, whichever one is healthy, and the addition of Scotty Miller, the slot receiver that they've got there. We all know how Brady loves the slot receivers. This guy isn't like the slot receivers that he's had before, though. This isn't an Edelman or a Welker or an Amendola. Scotty Miller's got some wheels. He can fly. And so I think that's something the Broncos need to be cognizant of. We're not talking about your typical gritty, high-motor white guy wide receiver that Tom Brady usually has.
Okay, well, I want to go to Gronkowski because I think oftentimes when we talk about the Broncos defense, it goes against the tight ends and what those matchups look like. I mean, it's very easy to say that O.J. Howard probably concerns you a little bit more than Rob Gronkowski. Are you as surprised as some are that Rob Gronkowski has not had the impact early on that a lot of people thought he would?
No, I'm not. And we've been over this on the radio show quite a bit. Coming back to the game after having so much time off and kind of goofing off, and he clearly already was on the backside of his career at the time that he retired. I think he just wanted to reunite with Tom and have some fun. And I'm not doubting that he's having that, but he's also not having the same levels of success that he used to have. Doesn't have the same speed that he used to have. I think of him more as a tight end 2, or really honestly a tight end 3 in this offense, because what he has done is take away reps from guys who are more athletic like Howard or Cameron Brate, who are honestly better tight ends.
Okay, so let's actually break down who are you most concerned with in the receiving game, starting with the top. Is it Evans or Godwin?
Actually, it's Scotty Miller. It's the slot guy. I really think that he's a tougher matchup than the two. Godwin and Evans are great receivers. Don't get me wrong. Playing on the outside, they've got size, they've got decent speed and that kind of stuff. But Scotty Miller has real speed, and I don't know that the Broncos have come up against a receiver that fast yet this year. He's got some wheels on him, and that's something you're going to have to pay attention to. And he's great at gearing down quick and making a sharp cut. He's good at making you miss. And with Tom Brady's accurate passes there, I think that they're going to have to defend him a little bit differently than they've defended slot receivers thus far this year.
Tom Brady, 3 touchdowns, 3 interception, 3 sacks. What do you think about what he's shown so far? I mean, he's averaging about 232 passing yards per game. I think a lot of people came into this season thinking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be a big play offense. You're going to see the receivers getting downfield. You're going to see Tom Brady, even though we saw some limitations last year, you're still going to still see him in the Bruce Arians offense targeting these guys. That just hasn't been the case so far. And I'm kind of with you on your Scotty Miller thing because that seems a bit more like his range right now, which is kind of interesting.
Well, you could see it in the second half of the first game and then all game in the second game as to how they were like, okay, we want to do this, but Tom needs to do this. Let's do what Tom needs. And try to get him. And that's really what they're going to do. They're going to continue to try to cater to Tom Brady. And that's smart coaching. Smart coaching puts your players in the best position to succeed. You may want to do certain things and you may want to run certain concepts. But at the end of the day, if you are unable to execute those things because your quarterback, who, oh, by the way, is a Hall of Famer and one of the best to ever do it, isn't really able to do those things, then you're going to scale back and do what it is that player can do. And so you're going to see a lot of Yankee concept. You're going to see a lot of Y-stick. You're going to see stuff that Tom's familiar with from his time in New England. And they may incorporate some of those Arians' traditional no-risk-it, no-biscuit deep shots, but I think it's going to be fewer and far between.
This team only has 6 sacks on the defensive side so far. You know, who I'm really excited about watching actually is Antoine Winfield Jr. He's a very impressive rookie. But Devin White, Levante David, they have two of the best linebackers. How does that matchup stack up?
Well, across the board on that defense, they've got great players. I mean, we're all familiar with Shaq Barrett, but they got Jason Pierre-Paul and Dominic Sue. Winfield, you mentioned, doesn't play like a rookie, plays like a seasoned vet. He was a great pick up there by the Bucs. That's really where I'm more concerned about. I know everybody's looking and the eye is on Tom Brady and the offense. The real matchup here is the Broncos offense against that Tampa Bay defense. If you're not able to score points, it's not really going to matter in the end. I think the Broncos defense can contain the Tampa Bay offense and at least keep them at a manageable score. The question is, can the offense score enough to beat that?
Yeah, and you don't want to get guys like Shaq Barrett started early in this season. Of course, he started off last year with a really hot record there and ended up carrying on to having the sack record.